Bienvenido a Más Fuerza Los Ángeles. La versión audible. Gracias.
Bienvenidos everyone, and welcome back to the audible version of the Más Fuerza Los Angeles blog website. My name is Ruben Guerrero, and as always, your host through this latest trip through, memory lane, since we're going back in time to January 1st, 2021, when we last posted about Jamie Hernandez, Executive Vice President for FEVO. But before we get to that, I just want to say a few words about, everything's kind of transpired over the last couple of weeks. We have had two mass shootings. The most notable is the one in Atlanta. We had 8 victims, 6 were Asian women. I believe they're Korean. And, how sad that, how sexualized and marginalized these women have become, these victims have become because of someone's sickness. And it's just a sad situation. We had a married couple, a man, I think he was from Guatemala. They handcuffed him and kept him in his car, and he didn't even know his wife had passed away for 4 hours. The woman his wife had died. He didn't know. These 6 women, and they have families and daughters and sisters and brothers, and it went from a hate crime to sex work talk, and kind of just turn the victims into I don't even know what to call them. What they're trying to spin. The spin that they're trying to put on this it's just upsetting. Something about society today just doesn't do a good job protecting women. We need to do a better job. These women deserve better. Their families deserve better. We deserve better. I know women could be a handful, and I'm speaking from a man's point of view. Women can be a handful, that's for sure. We're two different creatures, and we think differently, and I know it becomes frustrating at times, but there's no excuse for anything like this at all. Our country deserves better, so much better. Again, I hope the families find the justice that they need and deserve. The situation that these families are in comes to some sort of closure for them. Because as of right now, it's an open book, and different stories are being told about one situation. And the fact remains, in the situation is a sick individual took his rifle, his assault rifle, and went to these massage parlors, spas, health and wellness centers, whatever you want to call them. He took his rifle and loaded on unarmed victims. That's cowardice to every degree. It's frustrating to think about. These women deserve better. We need to do better. And I hope things do get better, because I have daughters to worry about. I have my mother, my grandmother, my girlfriend. Everything that's important to me needs to be protected. And that's just my thoughts for today. And again, we deserve better. But again, getting back to the subject at hand, I'm back to lightening the mood. The blog post that we're going to cover today goes back to January 1st, 2021. It's about Jamie Hernandez. He graduated from University of California, Irvine. He's currently the Executive Vice President for FEVO. He's a young Latino Chicano from Hawaiian Gardens. He's just done a lot in a short period of time. I believe he's in his mid to late 20s. He's not probably no older than that, and he's done so much. And I can't say enough how the Latino, Latina, Latinx community is proud of this young man. He took that stereotype that we're used to, that narrative, and kind of flipped it on its side, and created his own path that a lot of young Chicanos and Chicanas could watch and hopefully replicate and again do better for our own community. I think it's very important that we establish that our community is in need of good young men like this, good young ladies like this, to pave the way for the youth and to show them that there's a different way than what we're used to. So again, and I hope you enjoy this and keep coming back. Share with your friends, share with your family. Let them know that we're doing positive stuff here at Mas Fuerza. We're doing a lot of good things here. Jamie Hernandez, The Professional, January 1st, 2021. Looking Up Was Always a Plan, written by Ruben Guerrero. Jamie Hernandez graduated in 2011 from the University of California, Irvine, where he earned his BA in Economics and Sociology. Jamie's career journey was, at that time, hopeful. Just like anyone fresh out of college, hopes are usually very similar. Find a great job in your career path, build some wealth, travel, have some fun, then possibly start a family, or at least somewhere along that line. The actual road that Jamie was on would probably be more close to fantasy for the average. Jamie was in for an adventure that led him to work for the Los Angeles Clippers, the Los Angeles Angels, the New York Yankees, and the Anaheim Ducks. A slew of various executive jobs for sports teams, fantasy jobs for the average guy on the street. Lucky is the phrase that came to my mind, but Jamie's work ethic, family, and culture brought him to where he is today. Jamie went to elementary school in Hawaiian Gardens, California. According to NeighborhoodScout.com, 76.6% of Hawaiian Gardens population identifies as Hispanic. Growing up, Jamie was in the majority, which gave him pride in his Mexican background and culture. Jamie ended up going to junior high and high school in Cerritos, California. Education drove that decision to change city school districts. It did alter the demographic. Hispanics find themselves in 12% of the total population of Cerritos. The ABC school district lists Hispanic kids who were 45% of the district population, only 14% at the high school Jamie attended. Latino representation had dropped off considerably after changing school districts. It was where Jamie got to see firsthand the differences between cultures. In comparison of his own culture, that was his only experience. One comparison that stood out was in his community where income made decisions for his friends' families. Priorities were to find ways to provide for the families, usually at the expense of academics and a well-rounded childhood. In Cerritos, the culture was seemingly far from that. Kids did not have to worry financially, and all the efforts could focus on academia to create opportunities to get into the best colleges. Jamie said, "As I got older, my eyes opened into systematic discrepancies that I learned that made it harder for our Latino community to excel when they have to worry about providing for their family. I have seen tremendous amount of change within Latinos as I got older. There is a tremendous sense of pride within our culture because we have so many that have found success across every aspect. And having them as role models means the next wave of successful Latinos are coming." With Jamie's statement, my thoughts were the wave he's talking about also includes himself to the list of successful Latinos. One of the biggest influence for young Jamie was Artie Moreno. Artie Moreno is the current owner of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Artie Moreno is Mexican-American, a Chicano just like Jamie. Successful representation is a big deal for kids. Jamie had someone outside his home that he could relate to when he was young. It helped to make Jamie feel that success was possible for us. Artie Moreno, born in 1946, is fourth-generation Mexican-American from Tucson, Arizona. Artie Moreno attended the University of Arizona. He graduated with a BS in marketing. After many investments in companies and sports franchises, Artie built his wealth to purchase the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim to become the first Chicano minority owner in the MLB. Jamie went on to say, "I always wanted a career in sports. Seeing someone of similar background in ownership of a major league baseball team inspired me, not only to try to make it to that point, but gave me the confidence that it is possible with hard work and great business acumen." Jamie grew up playing sports, but knew early in life that he needed to be a part of the sports world in any way he could. He was aware of the odds of making it professionally. Jamie made it a point to figure out how to be involved in sports as a career. Latinos in sports is not an outrageous idea. Latinos behind the scenes in the day-to-day operations can be a little underwhelming. I made that point to Jamie about the idea of being a minority in his field of work. There are no real percentages that I could find. I had asked Jamie how he felt about Latinos doing what he does, probably at the bottom of the totem pole. His response was inspiring and humbling. If I can influence any Latinos that want to get into sports or sports tech, I am more than happy to be a resource for anyone interested. I would be happy to do so. My goal is to break down some of the walls and show the youth that with hard work, persistence, that can also make it. Jamie added, working in sports is a very sobering process. It is an industry that everyone wants to be in. It is a very competitive career. There is always someone waiting to take your spot. Patience is a virtue because you have to pay your dues before you can advance. The road can be tenuous with the right mindset. In time, it is within reach and it is attainable. Jamie is finally in an executive role, but it took 10 years to get there. The amount of work Jamie put in is finally paying off. In today's climate, racism is something we all have to deal with. I have shouldered a decent amount of ignorant comments made my way about Mexican Hispanic culture. I believe the comments don't come from a bad place. People are just uneducated about our culture and what we have been through. I thought Jamie's response was ideal and understanding to the people around him, very mature beyond his years. Youth growing up amongst other cultures from junior high, high school, and in college, with the percentages dominating your own, could it help redirect your connection away from your cultural values? For the most part, there is an influence one way or another. Interestingly enough, Jamie's mother studied Chicano studies in college. It was her major. She instilled that sense of pride and constant reminders of who they are, what the culture means to their family. Jamie grew up identifying as Chicano. Most Mexicans identify Chicano more directly. To call ourselves Chicano lets people know who our family is and what we stand for. Being an executive vice president at a distinguished company such as FEVO, is there a sense of community responsibility or added pressure of being the example? Jamie answered with, I feel that I have shown my community that entering a world that typically wouldn't be considered a career option is an option. He continued, you can succeed and thrive in it. My Latino culture made me search for my parents' approval into what I wanted to do as a career. Jamie is referring to is that for most Latino families, if your career path isn't ideal, you will be subject to ridicule or disapproval. Latinos understand that. Tell my mom I'm going to be an artist, she'll ask me to paint her house, since I'm an artist all of a sudden, jokingly of course. Jamie concluded with, they didn't necessarily agree with my career choice because it wasn't a known avenue. I proved to them and everyone that you can pave your own path even if you don't know anyone that has done it before or seen it done before. Our heritage can seem trivial to some, complicated to others. The Hernandez family has passed down our culture and work ethic and is on full display through their sons, Jamie and Jeffrey, with strength, education, and courage. Jamie, humbly beating the odds and avoiding traps and stereotypes that society has set for Latino men, according to the HuffPost in an article published back in June 2017 titled Latinos in the U.S. and the Road to Prison. Latino men born in 2001 has a 1 in 6 chance of going to prison during their lifetime, while Caucasian males are at 1 in 17. Latinas are steadily at 2.2%. Caucasian females are at 0.9% in the lifetime probability of going to prison. These odds are particularly not favorable to Latin people. When we see stories of achievement within our communities, a celebration is an understatement. What we have witnessed, Jamie Hernandez and others alike, shouldn't feel like it's a random occurrence. End goal, as I call it at some point, success is a road that every Latina, Latino in any community is commonplace. Thank you, Jamie, and every Chicano like yourself that is blazing a path for all to follow. Now, these are the type of stories I like to hear about. You know, Jamie Hernandez is that feel-good story that we hope for all our kids and our cousins and and the neighbors' kids and people down the street, and, not just for Latino people in general, but for everybody. But the fact remains is, when it comes to education, it's still, for some reason, it's still an argument with some young, Latino kids. They rather just go straight to work. Everybody has their own choice and own path to go down, but my point of view is give yourself a chance. Our elders fought for this, the education that we all deserve, and I keep saying this, take advantage of it, take full advantage of it. I'm an advocate for education, and there's nothing that can deter me from that. We need the opportunities to be there for us. I always say, there's nothing wrong with working in a warehouse, but in comparison, a registered nurse can be a registered nurse. She could work in, or he could work in a warehouse. A warehouse guy cannot be a registered nurse. You have to go to school for that. A registered nurse doesn't have to go to school to be a warehouse guy. And again, I'm not downplaying or trying to use working in a warehouse. I worked in a warehouse, so it's not something to be ashamed of. But it's just there's variables in between both career paths, and one needs education, and one you could just go in with a high school diploma. Again, the roles cannot be reversed. You cannot take one and go to the other, and the other one go to the. You have to get that degree, to provide that opportunity. So again, I'm big on education, and I'm an advocate for that, and that's just the way I see things. And ain't nothing wrong with education, learning, and knowing some stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So again, hopefully you enjoyed Jamie's story. I really enjoyed writing about it. I've known Jamie for a lot of years, going back to Whitney High School. He was just a great kid, and he's turned into a really great man and a great adult and a provider. So, that's excellent. I'm very proud of this guy. And Jamie, hopefully, if you hear this, share it with your friends and family. You have a lot to be proud of. There's a lot to be proud of. And hopefully you understand that, and hopefully you realize that now, and you could just enjoy the moment. Every day is a good moment for you. So going forward, we have the next Audible post will be Latino podcast. I did a quick segment on that, and also followed up with Annalise Jimenez, a personal trainer, and her story. Another female, and the struggles behind the scene when it comes to female and the mansplaining and all that kind of stuff, the marginalizing, the stuff that I was talking about earlier in the podcast. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you share, subscribe, even rate it, make put some comments, and I'll so I can improve on the podcast. And I'm starting to tweak it a little bit, and starting to get used to. Hey, one thing I encourage going into this, go into the blog and actually read the blog, especially when it comes to Jamie. For some reason, every story that I do the Audible version, there's always a sentence that ends up being deleted, and that's something I think it's out of my control. But again, I'm still getting used to this program, and I'm starting to tweak it and improve it, and hopefully in the future this is not going to happen. But it's always one little sentence that I see, and it's just like and once it's deleted, it's deleted. So, and I don't want to go back and record the whole thing. It's just a strenuous, frustrating the process when it comes to this. So again, I encourage you, go to the website. It's it's masfuerzalosangeles.com, MAS/FUERZA-LOS-ANGELES.com, and you could go to the blog schedule and the blog itself, and you could read it. Again, I encourage that. So I appreciate y'all listening, and hopefully we'll be back next week and listen to the next one. All right. Gracias.